Good morning, NIO fam. It is Laser here with another weekend video analysis. It's Saturday, 8 o'clock a.m. in the morning. And I'm starting this video out this morning without starting my morning walk. I figured let's just get it out of the way nice and early. I know a lot of you probably were waiting for this video. It's been a pretty volatile week for the entire stock market. And I'm here to kind of share my input and opinion on it. I've been trying to tweet quite a bit. So if you're not already following me on Twitter, there's been about 4 or 5 tweets that I tweeted out this week, which is probably the most that I've ever done. I felt like it was needed given the volatility. I feel like, hearing my words, hopefully that kind of, gave you a little bit of what I was thinking throughout all of this. But now you get to actually hear my words. Again, if you're making a big financial decision watching this video, please just do your own due diligence and research. I'm just a guy who loves the stock. I'm just sharing my opinion, which has been wrong before. If you missed my last week's video, it was a really good one. Go back, watch it. Very, very, very good one. A lot of us are trying to figure out where that bottom is. Now, if you missed my tweets, this was one of the tweets that I talked about. I talked about how this structure looks very similar to the April crash. And if I were to even go into the 4-hour time frame, I can kind of get that a little bit more. Here we go. Now, if I were to go back to April, right here, which is April 2025, which was pretty much 2 rallies prior to that. For those of you that have been in the stock, you guys would remember this. And we had a very similar thing happen where it broke the descending support. It was a very, very similar setup. It broke under, broke back up. And in fact, if I go to the daily chart, just to kind of put this into perspective, the day it broke under, it retested it on the very first day. The very next day, it bottomed. It went from retesting 346, coming all the way down and testing an important fib. It was the bottom. Now, if you're kind of cautious, you're really, really looking for confirmation and you're scared, understandable, wait for it to do this. Because what you're going to get is you're going to get that nice move, like a 20% move, I think, like a big move. And then you should get like that retest, which confirms, okay, that extension is over, that bottom's over, and now you're going to be ready to launch way higher. So you can see it already kind of came up. It might even, I don't want to say bottom for sure because it's missing that really important fib. Oh, bless me. That important Fibonacci, and we talked about this in all of my streams. I'm just going to show you here. Take our IPO high, $14.39, and our IPO low, $1.16. We switch to the log scale. Okay. So 550 is important on the macro fib. Sorry, I'm just tired. Actually, I haven't even had my coffee or my walk yet. It was the move from the bottom here at $3.32 to the top. That's where I'm getting like the $5. And this is the Robinhood fractal that we talked about. This is the, hang on a minute here. I'm just going to use the magnet tool. I want this to be accurate. $5.16. I think there's a chance that we tag that like on Monday. A little gap down and then off it goes. Like or maybe it just hovers there. Like how did it hover here? It actually closed near the low, so maybe a little bounce, and then we're talking boom, and off it goes. So a little bit of like a spring, a little bit of a jump, and I could see that possibly playing out here for NIO. And from an arrow perspective, it would look like this. You would tag. That would be your local bottom. You would get like a nice whoosh move, like maybe up to 6, and it's like, let's go. Maybe you would get that retest into 572 potentially. retest the trend line, and essentially I imagine it playing out almost the exact same way as April. And you're going to get like this big launch either into 650, potentially 675. Now I can actually measure some important channels. So if I take the top of where we previously were in November, which was $7.54, and I drag down our Fibonacci tool, and assuming we hit $5.16, the golden pocket retrace from the move up from 760 down to 516 would be $6.60, and 695 would be a 786 extension. You could also, like, I think that that's pretty much the only way you're going to see this play out, is just this giant dead cat bounce is coming. Okay, it's giant. How does that look like when I draw out a trend line here? I'm going to delete these lines. I want to show you something here. Oops. If I go and take our Fibonacci retracement from the April, or sorry, it would have been the March to the April low, you'll notice what it did do. It broke above the first Fib retracement, which was 348, came back to retest it, and went up basically into the golden pocket. Okay, this whole move, it gave you the golden pocket back, which was your lower high, which allowed you to, you know, give you this new trend line here, and you're able to time this next rally with the, you know, and you can see it was peeking its head out here, and you can pretty much find the exact day that it closed above it. Right there, actually. Right there, it was getting kind of spicy. We broke above the 200-day moving average. Off it went. And that's how I see it, actually. In fact, if you guys are more visual than audio, I'll visualize this for you. We use the tool called bars pattern, and we take this entire sell off, and then we'll line that bottom up right down to 515. Where is it? And yes, if you're already asking, like, well, what's going to happen when it gets to that? I'm already anticipating something like this too. I think, call me weird, but I think that makes the most sense. After this massive sell-off, you're going to need some little bit of consolidation, a little bit of like, hey, are we still good? I think this is what's going to happen as a potential possibility. This would be, in my opinion, based off the current price action on NIO, a very good scenario playing out, because we're making higher lows. So I did the whole, actually, let's do the whole thing. Let's do this. And let's change the length here. Something like that. How's that look? Now, when you look at this from a whole picture, doesn't that like actually look like if these were real candles? Like, actually, I think I can turn these into real candles. Watch. I think there's a way to do candles. Visibility. How do I do that? Maybe I can't. What's OC bars? No, you can't turn them into candles. But regardless, if I were to show you this chart, wouldn't you be like, holy crap, that looks so like, where have I seen that before? And I mean, like, that's kind of like this, right? Except something like this would give you like that structure where, okay, you made a lower low. We made a lower low. We make that higher low. Off it goes. Continuation. There's your breakout and that consolidation. And then it goes something like that. Now, it does bring it around February, March. I was thinking another thing that I was going to share. My thesis has been, and if you watched all my previous weeks, was, where is it? That if you take the bottom of this rally to the top, you get like 80. It was like something like 61 bars. Let me see if I'm doing this right. I'm zooming in. Bottom to top, 61 bars. So you would at least get 61 bars of consolidation, which brings you right into the end of the year. Now, I was thinking something else here. Hear me out. Okay, this is just another theory. So our bottom was right here. And then, I mean, I would say like probably when things really broke was like right on this day. Like that's when it broke. Now, if I was being conservative, you could say, okay, this entire thing stretched 121 days. And what that would mean, instead of like the rally that I said was going to come in January, which there will be rally. I think it's going to be building up to a rally, like almost like immediately, like next week. You're going to start seeing like this next big move that's going to be starting. But I don't think it'll be the move. It might potentially need until March 13th. New date, just a theory, because that's like uptrend, it breaks 43 days, so halfway through. So where is it? We're talking 43 bars. Is my math right? 43? Yeah, that's about half. So this next move up that we're about to see is going to take between, we're going to rise up for the next month, I think. And I can see that happening. Let's see if it works out from a timing perspective, if I do the bar pattern. I'm doing this kind of live. I didn't get a chance to fully look at the charts here, so apologize, but I'm trying to do this analysis. Let's see how this looks from a timing. Yeah, I could see that kind of potentially happening. You'd rise up, maybe a little bit more like that. Comes up, it rides it, and then it comes back down. Now, part of me is worried. Let's erase everything again. Reset. Part of me is worried that that we haven't seen the bottom yet. And even if we get 515 and then it bounces and then you get your big move, my concern is you won't get something like this, which I think would be a pretty okay scenario for most bulls. Like, hey, as long as we don't go lower and we're consolidating is good. So you get the bounce, that's good. And then off it goes. That's great. My concern is that this kind of sell-off was so drastic that it might want to give you another, flush lower into a golden pocket. Like pretty much you want 515 to hold right here. But there could be a scenario where you rise back up. Let's just say 650. It's a nice round number. And then you make the last leg lower into the golden pocket. And then off it goes. Just pointing that out. And there's a reason why. And there's a reason why I think this is more likely. Pretty much we can agree that this bounce is coming. I think everybody's going to tell you there's a bounce coming, and I think everybody's right. And I think like NIO's never been this oversold. If I go to the 1 hour chart and I look, actually, where would it show? I'm going to go to the 4 hour chart. The last time NIO was this badly oversold was April. And before then, it was April. Okay, so apparently April is historically a really bad month for NIO. And then you got like that another big bounce here. And you can see each time it hasn't spent. You can look here. We don't consolidate or spend a lot of time down in these levels. Very oversold levels. It almost always snaps back to the midline, mean reversion. You get the snapback. The snapback comes. Snapback's coming. But here's kind of some of my concerning views. When I look at the 4-hour time frame, we're still making a lower low on the 200-day moving average. And what that means is even if we get this move, which is the that was also a lower low, it gave you the higher low. I guess maybe the bottom could be in. It might just give you something like this. I don't know. I think it's just with the volatility, it makes me not want to rule out 450. Perhaps 450 is really not like in the question at all. Like that's just wishful thinking. I know there's going to be that move, and perhaps 515. And when I say wishful thinking, for those that want to like really load up low, because think about it, if you're a bull and you got money to average down, you should be like licking your lips at like, yeah, 450, let's go. Like I'm totally about that. But what needs to happen, as you can see here, or what had to happen last time when you had that gigantic sell-off, our 200-day moving average needed to come up and back down again and make a higher low, because we made a lower low. So we needed to make that higher low before things were good. And you see that on every time frame. 2 hours, we've now broken above the 200-day moving average. Although we haven't broken out of this trend line. So we need that break to really signal, which makes me think we're going to get that swing down to 515, which from a percentage wise, just so you know, from a percentage wise, if it swung down to 515, you would see NIO 8% red on the day. It would be like just like pandemonia, panic, just people like saying like, oh my god, like what's going on. I wouldn't be concerned. I would be like, hell yeah, like that's like playing out exactly like the way I thought it was. And that's the way I would want you guys to kind of think if you saw a move like that. And then of course the hourly X looks amazing. It's interesting. I don't know how to think of it, but it made a lower low and then it made a higher high. It basically took out all the highs here on the velocity. Like it's wanting to make a big move. Like that was a big bounce. How big of a bounce was that actually from the bottom to top? 9%. Like that was a big move. Our hourly actually is forming a higher low, which is very bullish. And typically when you get a higher low on the hourly, you get big moves that follow that. Higher low, you get it's getting ready to make that big move. This was one example where it was within a bull channel, higher low on the hourly, and you got an additional 10-15% move that's going to come. I do think that's coming here for NIO. What else could I say? I mean, if you want to be cautious, again, we want to, and I said this and I hate repeating myself, but you want to watch it. You want to watch it give you that clear breakout above this. Breakout above that, you're confident you're going to get that bounce. I mean, the bounce is coming. Everybody knows the bounce is coming. The question is this going to be your last chance to load up low, or will it take longer? I do think it's going to take longer, you guys. Originally, I was saying December as like your bottom, which might happen. But I also think there's a chance that bottom may not come in. It might take a little bit longer to resolve. February, March, actually, you could see something like this. Up, down, I don't know. Just total drawn out. And that would be a 4-month, by the way, downtrend. Not a 3-month, but a 4-month, which we've seen. In fact, 45% of all downtrends on NIO are 4 months. 45% of all downtrends on NIO are 3 months, which makes about 90% of downtrends. The other 10% of downtrends, which is like one time it hit, actually twice now, it hit 5 months. And then there's your like roughly If it was 4 months, January 30th, around there. I'm changing my my perspective, not solidifying it. I just think that's just a possibility, only because I was saying like maybe this sell off will like need a little bit more time to just settle itself. Just trying to manage your expectations, you guys. As soon as you start saying, well, Laser said there's going to be a run in end of December, Christmas, and it doesn't happen, I want you guys to think like it's the end of the world. Laser was wrong. I mean, yeah, I would have been wrong if that's my call out, but I also want you guys to be open to the idea of like being a little bit more flexible with your timelines. Timing is one of the hardest things. You're actually not going to find a single talented technical analyst. Actually, I shouldn't say that. There are some people who are awesome at timing, but it's rare. Go out there, try and find someone who's giving you dates. Very difficult to actually nail timing. And that's all it is. If you have the timing down, you have pretty much the keys to the stock market. It's all about timing. Some people tried buying the bottom here and they mistimed it. And if you mistime these things, you don't get as good of a price, and you also mess up your expectation. Let's take a look here. What makes the most sense? Like if I was just screwing around, you rise up, you retest it, you get that one last move down. Does it make sense from a trend-based Fibonacci? Let's take a look. I'll measure that. You might. Wow. Okay. I didn't even plan that, and it like almost picture perfect. If you got like an additional like move down, if 450, 455, I mean it would tag below, probably close above. And I show this just to, and I would imagine at that point you break above. And then you start your huge rally. Now, the cool thing is if the rally starts later, we go higher, because this is still true. I've said this over and over and over again. Maybe you're watching for the first time. You've missed this. This really rare setup where we have the price made a higher high, but the velocity made a lower low. It's a bearish divergence. They call it a bearish divergence. The sellers are getting exhausted. What it does, and I'm going to erase everything, it leaves behind this magnetic resistance line. And so when this thing is ready, and what did I say? I was saying March. Let's say end of March, just because why not? End of March. Are you not drilling and excited about that? Like, okay, if you let this roll out a little bit longer, this thing will freaking explode to 18. Where does that take you? Right above this. Right above that high. And that makes the most sense too. It took this high out and you're ready to make a big move. Let's go up to 18. And from a trend-based Fibonacci, you could measure it. You can go from, I don't know if I would measure from this bottom. I am going to 450. You could see a 261 extension into 1720. I mean, even 1720. Okay, maybe that's going to come on February 27th. And that's assuming it bounces off this channel here. So what you're getting, just drawing this out for you. We're going to get that bounce, that rise back up, back down. Like, I don't even know what would cause that, but trying to just make it make sense around that. That is totally, I see that happening. Okay. I see that happening, but we have to get through this part. We have to get through this part. We got to resolve this. We got to resolve this part. And it doesn't necessarily have to go down to 450. I don't want to. I believe that this case it kind of makes sense to me, but if it doesn't, it might just make a higher low. It might just do that too. Maybe it'll get there sooner. Maybe it'll be my original target, which I saw around December, right, or January. Maybe it'll be that. Hopefully that's helpful. I look at the 2 hours. I'm going to erase everything here just so we know. And I said I would tell you, I would give you the signal. The signal for when I believe the bottom is going to be in. And if this is the move, we want to see this break above, come back down. Off we go. If that's the move, then we're ready to go. We need this to break. Once it breaks and then we get that higher low, ready to rally, ready to run, load the boat. Let's go. So keep an eye out for 515 going into next week. It's a very major, it's a very big, and that matches the Robinhood Fractal. In fact, let's do this real fast for fun. We're going to open up Robinhood one more time. Okay. And we're going to copy this entire thing. This entire kind of move here up. For fun. We're going to do that. Bar pattern. Just do that. Copy paste back to NIO. Did I do this right? Let's see if I can do this right. I gotta stretch this out down to the 50% fib, which is gonna be, I said 515. Okay, I stretched out a little too much. I don't know, something like this. Perhaps we get that. That's actually a Robinhood fractal, okay? Boom. Up, 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 just way up. That's the same concept. And in fact, you want to see something? Look at this. I take you back to Robinhood. I'll show you the velocity. There was Robinhood. And it didn't spend long. It literally launched right after. I mean, never say never. I'll be shocked if we get that. If that's the case, if you get a big move like that, that is tremendous. That is awesome. Mind you, on Robinhood, you had that confirmation. You had that break up on the daily, higher low, off it went. We want the higher low. Higher low is what we're looking for. We right now on NIO, we're not quite there yet. If those of you who are expecting like this complete V-shaped reversal, it's a lower low, but eventually it's going to bounce, which I think it's going to happen next week, which is going to make it. It's going to make it do this. It's going to make it do this, and hopefully it stays above the line, and we get something like that. Like that would be like your perfect. Let's see. Does that break? It does. Breaks above. Maybe that's what's playing out, you guys. And you get your disgusting explosive rally at the end of the year for Christmas. Perhaps that's still in store. I just want you guys not to be disappointed if that doesn't happen, and open up your window of flexibility for timelines for downtrends, because it's super hard to figure out. NIO could sometimes give you 3 months of a downtrend. It could sometimes do 4 months, and I've seen 5 months. In fact, anyone who is trading NIO back here, that was a 5-month like downtrend. Now I think we're long past that. I've seen the bearish comments come out and say like, well, if buyers don't step up, it's going to go to 3. I take you to the weekly chart. I'm going to show you again for anyone who like says this is not going to 3, you guys. The probability of us going to 3 is less than 1%. Like I want to say 0%, but there's literally, I can't. Nobody can tell you for a fact. But for me, I basically say 0% chance. Like to me, this is a complete breakout on the weekly velocity. Every single one of these moves has trained us on NIO that, oh my God, it's just going to go lower. It's just going to, for years, since 2022. For 3 years, we've seen it pump and dump, pump and dump, pump and dump, pump and dump. And this is why this week I love this weekly chart, because it really tells you, is this going to be a pump and dump, or is it the real freaking deal? Pump and dump, pump and dump, pump and dump. The real freaking deal. We're well above that midline. And this was a key signal on Robinhood. It was a key signal on SoFi. It's a key signal on multiple stocks. And since then, nothing but higher highs and higher lows. And I just want to say, like, that is what it's here. I'll show you SoFi real fast. SoFi, you'll notice that it didn't quite resolve until you got this final move right here. Higher highs, higher lows. We'll go to Baba, which is another Chinese name. Look at what Baba had to do. It's a big scribbly mess. Don't pay attention to the scribbles. I want you to pay attention to the fact that it's making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher. This was a lower high, but it can still make a higher low. And we're above. And look at the price. It's just curling up. That's what I expect with NIO. I totally expect that. Same thing's happening with KWeb. Since KWeb actually made its higher high on the weekly, and we've done this. It's good refresher just to kind of really tell you why I don't think three's in the cards. As soon as you get like that bounce above on that midline, yeah, these are pump and dumps, right? Pump and dumps, dead cat bounces. We're getting lower. This basically gives it all back, and finally, technically, we're making higher lows as soon as we kind of break above that, and we really are making freaking higher lows. So that's why I think higher lows are coming here for the whole market and for NIO. And NIO it's particularly NIO because this is going to be the very first bounce. Look how many bounces KWeb got. 1 bounce, 2 bounces, 3, and probably 4 is coming for KWeb. 4 higher lows. Baba already had 1, and then you'd say 2, and probably a third one. This is going to be the first one for NIO, the first higher low that's coming after it broke above the midline. So it's still very early. And I do think, like, what did Baba do, for instance, after it broke above the first time? It actually gave you this huge pullback. But it was still a higher low, and it still freaking ripped to new highs. Higher low and ripped to new highs. Okay, so it's it looks weird, this chart, because I don't have this on. I have this on log scale. I always draw my parallel channels on regular scaling, and that's another conversation for another time. But that's it. Keep an eye out for 515 on Monday. If you don't get it on Monday, I just don't think it's happening. Like, if this thing pushes, if this thing breaks out and breaks above, forget 515. It's bottomed. It's ready to run. Wait, it was 4 hours. Have this trend line drawn out from this bottom, connects to this bottom. Once that breaks above, you can forget 515. I still think there's a chance you see 515 here. 515, Robinhood Fractal. I'm rooting for that. I'm rooting for that Robinhood Fractal, you guys. 515, it hits the 50% fib. It just doesn't make any sense to me that you would come all this way down and not tap it. Anyone that tried buying the bottom here would be like, I got the bottom. Best way to shake them out is just bring it back down. We'll go back to the regular scale. Why is this looking? No, not regular. Log. For the Fibonacci, log scale works better. And I would say 515. Keep an eye out for that. And then keep an eye out for $6.51, which is roughly your golden pocket retrace. There you have it. That's my NIO analysis going into next week. Oversold as hell. Don't feel bad. It's actually the top performer right now in China. And when it was going down, it went down with the rest of the market. And it's so funny that it kind of was like in sync with crypto. Crypto kind of went down, and so did NIO. Like, there's some sort of synchronization between China and crypto. You got to pay attention. And everybody's talking about like crypto's going to crash. To be honest, I think crypto has bottomed and you're going to get that big bounce too. But it's got like that weird setup right here where it's like almost the same thing on like let's see. Look, it's like the same thing as NIO. And I think you might just get like that one last like, oh my god, it's just gonna crash, and then off it goes. Sorry for the voice and special sound effects. I did that to be dramatic. And I think what you're gonna get like that big bounce here on cryptocurrency because it's just it's freaking oversold, man. Like this thing is ridiculous. And that golden pocket would take you to what 97,000. Okay. 97,000. That's my call out for cryptocurrency. I think you're going to get a bounce. And even if this bear market were to, that people are apparently calling for a bear market, I still think you get that bounce into the 97 and perhaps it gives you the next leg lower. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a crypto guy, but crypto's in a scary spot. It's important to watch the cryptocurrency because it has oddly been correlating with NIO and Chinese. The Chinese sector because it's the definition of like a heavily speculative risk asset, and I'm not calling NIO a risky investment, but because they haven't fully proven themselves to the entire market yet, even though I think many would argue it's grouped up in that like speculative stock, and so when your major speculative stock is dropping, I think you see most of those stocks drop, but IWM closed up green 3%. That's huge. Or sorry, 2.83%, which is huge. We very well could have a bottom. Local bottom. Not like it's ready for the rally, but more like expect more of a dead cat bounce. BABA. This is a hot mess. You can see some rounding out that's happening here on the velocity. I'm just going to erase everything. I can't stand all these drawings. Oh my God. All these scribbles. So bad. Yeah, I just needed it clean. All right. That is more appetizing and appealing. Okay. I'm looking at it. It looks to be rounding out and bottoming out here. We still haven't gotten it. Oh, it did give you a velocity break. That's interesting. So it broke over once. That's the once that velocity break. Second, it's gonna be heading up 170, I think. And like the dead cat bounce here for BABA, for those of you that are in BABA, you would want to watch it kind of come into 171. If it gives you that dead cat bounce, that golden pocket, you could still see this extended. What I mean by extended, it could still do this. You could still see this. Let's see, 171. I don't know. I'll just call it 170, whatever. It could. Okay, so, or you get that higher low. I don't think it's going to blast off like that. I think you'll still get that next bounce, either a higher low or a lower low. You got to watch my next week's video as I have more information and data to try and figure that stuff out. And then I go to Baidu. Baidu's interesting. It's, I think I called, like, I'm like, oh, it's doing this consolidation on the 24 hours. I think I talked about this. Like, I said, like, I see time and time again. I see it it's rolling over is what it does. It consolidates. And then it gave you that pull almost perfectly, like kind of the way I had it talking. It gave you that one last, this is like the manipulative move. It's going to hang out here and then it's going to explode, in my opinion. And if you're in Baidu, and some of you guys are, that golden pocket bounce would take you to 124, $14 move on Baidu. Everything's oversold like crazy. So if it does want to move, that's where I would expect it to go. And KWeb back to 39. Again, KWeb and NIO are very similar in that setup, and so is Baidu. They all have that like really rare setup, so we have to be patient and wait for that break to happen. I will tell you when that happens. Our US dollar made a higher high, but take a look what it just did on the velocity. That I'm maybe some of you guys can see it. I'm just deleting because I can't stand this messiness. If you're a bull, you'd be happy to see this. It is making a lower high. Do you guys see that? Lower high on the velocity, higher high in the price. It's getting exhausted. Usually a topping sign. And say we're going to get some big rally on the US dollar, but first it wants to give you that golden pocket. It might be topping out and getting ready to move back down to 97, a $3 move on that US dollar. This is going to be a huge move. Might even give you the 0.78. But you know what I think is going to eventually happen? Going to make that inverted head and shoulders. Like boom, 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 boom. I still believe the US dollar will have its rally. And it's going to make something dramatic, like at the very least 105. Which actually you can just draw out this trend line. I can almost guarantee you. Never guarantee anything, but I can almost guarantee you're gonna get that. 106, 107. It's coming. And we're praying and hoping as bulls, we want this. We want to see this. This is so good to see that you're seeing that it pushed up, but it pushed up slower. It basically slowed down. It broke below the 200 moving average. It might need some time to roll over. So you might see it kind of hover here a bit, and then it's going to tumble. That's what we want to see. We want to see the US dollar go down. Now, because it's above the midline and it's still technically making higher highs and higher lows, it's not a guarantee that you see like that big of a drop. It might actually just hold 99. A little drop, and it could continue to make these higher highs and higher lows. We got to watch for that. We got to be careful. You know, to get like super, super bullish now would be foolish. You want to stay cautious. And that's why I bring us back to my NIO analysis again. When you're looking at the US dollar, how it could maybe go higher. There's no lock and guarantee that the bottom is in. Perhaps we get 515 this week. Maybe we don't, but maybe we get 515 and then it bounces. We bounce to like 650, whatever. There's no guarantee that it won't come back down lower. It might to 450. It might. And that's if your US dollar keeps going up. So we watched that as another piece of the puzzle pie. Hang Seng Index, we kind of jumped that. We never even looked at the Hang Seng Index. But remember how that last week I was like, man, the Hang Seng Index looks so bullish. It broke above the 200-day moving average. Well, look at that. It literally broke back below the 200-day moving average and made a lower low. It also broke out of this fake trend line. Fake breakout, and it broke back lower. Interesting. Man, it's choppy signals. And I think what my original call out was always is that eventually it wants to just touch the bottom of this. Or maybe temporarily go underneath and then launch. All the rallies on and there's a lot of scribbles here, so I'll delete them for you so you're not lost in the noise. All the big moves on China, last three big ones, have all started below here. You would get that really big dip that came below here and it launched. Big dip below, launched. Big dip below, and then this wasn't really, I mean, it was a launch, but then a steady rise. So I at least expect it to come down and tap another 800 points, which is, I mean, everything is oversold, so you might get that bounce. up to 26, and then it'll bounce. But that's I don't know. I'm just not. I'm torn. I say you got to be cautious now. Now it made a lower low. It's no longer as bullish, and it's just we're now below the midline. Got to be cautious. How y'all doing, by the way? Are you guys rattled? Do you guys feel like you're waking up in the middle of the night, checking the stocks or checking Twitter and reading what everyone else is saying? I want you guys to take a deep breath. And if you haven't already, go outside. Go for a nice walk. Get in the sunlight. Get the fresh air. Everything's going to be okay. Okay? This drop for some people, and if this was your first drop because you're new into NIO and you've never seen some of these drops, this is for some of your first drop, everything's going to be okay. This whole move happened with the rest of the market. There were people in NIO that saw NIO drop like something like this, like a stone, while BABA went on to make rallies. Like this was probably the most depressing downtrend. If you were in this should be nothing. And I'm going to remind people just before I end the video here, because it was only just it was earlier this year, I think. Where NIO, and if I were to line that up, it was like, oh my God, Baba's going. And Baba went, Baba's still going. Why is NIO not going? And Baba ran 100%. And NIO only ran like 30% to only close lower, and Baba closed higher lows. Trust me, every single NIO bull was furious. I was furious. I was absolutely furious about this. And I was like charting the Hang Seng Index, and it just had this massive divergence because the last Baba rally was almost in sync with NIO. And I thought it was definitely going to catch up in it. And I was totally wrong. Totally wrong. And this is nothing. Look at this. It's right in line here with Baba and NIO now. And on the weekly, we got that beautiful move. So just relax, guys. Take it easy. If you enjoyed the video, smash a thumbs up. Don't forget, if you're new here, to subscribe to my YouTube video. And if you have any questions, drop it in the comment section below. If I have any time, I will actually get back to you and answer them. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. And that's it. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And I'm not sure. I think Thanksgiving is going to be next week in America. So not sure. I think it's going to be next weekend. So it'll be a short trading week as well next week. So prepare for that. Having said that, guys, thank you guys. Have a wonderful morning. That sums up my video. And you guys take care. Cheers.